Welcome to Boat Training Online. I'm Shawn Pollard, and today I want to talk to you about a man overboard. Man overboard is an emergency procedure, and I think it's something that you and your family should be prepared for. I think it's something that you should train on. If it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. But if it goes south on you, there's a couple things that you can do, and if you've worked with your family, you're going to increase your chances of having a happy ending on this. So before I get too far into the weeds, I want to share a little sea story with you. I was a man overboard when I was a young lad. I had just gotten certified as coxswain. And I was stationed in Sandwich, Massachusetts on the Cape Cod Canal. Our fueling place was on the canal. We had to leave our dock, go in, and then tie off to the bulkhead and take on fuel. And I'm telling you, I'm brand new coxswain. And my buddy Carl Wallowan, Carl, if you're watching, I love you. Anyway, Carl was right behind me in getting qualified, and we're trying to give him as much stick time as we could before he took the big ride. And anyway, Carl's making a beautiful approach. I'm gonna handle the bow line. So I make my way up there, and he's lining up for the fuel station. And a cabin cruiser had passed us, and I really didn't think anything about it. And so I'm up on the bow. We're just gonna pass mooring lines, no heaving lines or anything. So we come up, and I'm getting ready to go, and the wake of that cabin cruiser hit us on the beam, and the whole boat tipped, and my feet just went out from under me. I'm trying all I can do to hang on, and then the boat righted, and it just catapulted me into the water. I could do nothing. I'm heading for the drink. The upside to it is that we weren't close enough to the bulkhead yet to slam me into that and then slam me into the boat. I just went right in the water. Again, no big deal. Carl did a masterful job of spinning around and picking me up. The only thing that was hurt was my pride, but it gives you a different perspective when you're in the water and you see that boat coming at you, and you just hope everybody's going to do everything right. And that's why I'm encouraging you to practice. This thing happened just like this. I didn't see it coming. 9 times out of 10, the people that are involved in these don't see them coming. If you look back on a couple videos ago on life jackets, I had a video clip of a girl getting thrown out of her boat. Her dad was in Holliver Inlet down in Florida. He's going through some pretty good seas, and she gets ejected without a life jacket. Later on, she was picked up by a jet ski, so again, no harm, no foul. But you know how I feel about life jackets. I'm a big fan of them, especially when the boat's underway. I think everyone should have one on. All right, so let's get into it. We're gonna start off really easy, and then we'll get more serious as this thing goes. A friend of mine, Timmy Connolly, took me out on his boat, him and his son Brennan, and we did some man overboard drills. So at the end, I'm gonna throw a couple clips in here on the whiteboard where appropriate. But if you want to see that, I'm gonna put that at the end of the video. So all right, let's get into it. Simple man overboard. You got somebody who falls over. Whoever sees this guy go over becomes the pointer. They sound the alarm. Man overboard, starboard side. And I would really encourage you to do this with your family. This time you get to be the pointer. They see the guy, man overboard, starboard side. This person does not take their eyes off of the person in the water. And they work their way to the bow so that the operator, they can guide them in. But do not take your eyes off of the person.
Man overboard, starboard side.
Coming around. Watching you. The ocean is a big body of water. The lake is a big body of water, and you're just trying to keep your eye on ahead. It's better if there's a life jacket. So, I mean, you're going to float out of the water. It's either going to be yellow or orange, a little bit brighter, but the person keeps his eye on there. And he's pointing, and there's a way to point. When you point, you want the operator to be able to see your body and go out your arm and be able to follow that point right to the individual. Not this. It's pretty common sense, but I've seen it about 1,000 times. So encourage your family member. This is how to do it properly. Hang on. We don't want 2 man overboards. All right, so now that's the pointer. Let's do a training timeout right now because we're going to go into the operator, and there's a couple things that we really want to discuss. First, on my 5 most important settings video, I talked about this. It's called a trail. And what it does is wherever you drive, it leaves a trail behind you. I don't know if I said this in the video or not, but when I get underway, I turn this on. When I get back to the dock, if there's nothing that was critical that I need to save, I delete everything and I turn the unit back on, or I turn this setting back on, so the next time I get underway, it's a nice, fresh situation. Okay? And I encourage you to do that. Now, one of the things when I got underway with Timmy and Brennan that I didn't expect is that they've had theirs on since the beginning of time, I think. And they have a bunch of lines on there. And that will be more confusing than it is a help. So delete everything and turn it on as soon as you get underway, or better yet, when you secure the boat, turn it on so the next time you don't have to think about it. That's number 1. Number 2 is on newer boats, they have a setting on your plotter that is PIW, person in the water, or Man Overboard. There's a symbol of a guy with his hands out of the water in his head. Clearly you can see that it's a man overboard. That's a button all by itself. On your older models, it might just be a waypoint, but I can't stress upon you how critical it is for you, the operator, to hit when you hear Man Overboard. You have to hit that button and drop a waypoint. That waypoint, if it's just an easy one, it's not a big deal. You just delete it and go on. But if it turns into a bad situation, that's a reference point. It's a huge, when you're talking about being in the middle of the ocean, the reason that people aren't successful is because they lose their mind and they start running all over the place, and then they get lost and they don't know where the individual fell overboard. And you're not doing the person who's in the water any favor. So, do yourself a favor. When you're practicing, hit the button. Hit the button. I used to have this second class who rode me, and he would walk up at any time and say, "What would you do right now if? What would you do right now if?" And he'd have all these different scenarios. And I gotta tell you, it was frustrating, irritating, I don't know what, but he made me sharp, man. I could answer stuff right off the bat because he got me thinking. And I challenge you to do the same thing. And I will make you a little promise: if I get on your boat, I'm gonna what if you. Okay? So incorporate that into your training. Now, last but not least, I'm just gonna throw this out. Part of the carriage requirement for your boat is to have a throwable PFD. 9 times out of 10, it is a seat cushion. And I guess if you're not going to wear life jackets, then okay, throw them the seat cushion. But let me throw this at you. They have a thing called a ring buoy, or a life ring. You know, everybody's seen them on Titanic and everything else. but they make small ones for your size boat, and they have a light attached. I recommend that you get one of those, put the name of your boat on it, and have that available if mounted. And if somebody goes over, incorporate this in your training. You just grab it out of the holder and drop it over the side of the boat. You don't throw it to the person or anything else. But again, the things that I'm trying to line up for you is if things go really bad, you've done some key things to make life better. Now, with that, and especially at night, you have a visual reference of right about where that person went overboard. It gives you a geographical area because it's an enormous ocean out there, and if you don't do these things that I'm telling you, you're not going to find the person. All right, so operator, back in training here. The operator, man overboard, starboard side. You're going to want to kick your stern away. They taught us this because of prop strike. I will say that more than likely, by the time the person sees a guy fall overboard, sounds the alarm, you receive it, you send it down to your hands and turn. This guy's going to be spit out back here, and you're probably not going to have a prop strike. However, you do have to turn the boat. I've seen people just kind of freeze. They're in denial that one of their family members or workers have fallen overboard, and they just keep going straight. So get in the habit when you're doing this training, you want to turn towards the direction of the report. Man overboard, starboard side, I've turned, I've gotten my screws away from them. I dropped the waypoint. We're just going to call this PIW, person in the water. And hopefully, if you've followed my lead here, you have a ring buoy with the light attached. Now, you come around and you've got to pick X out of the water. This just becomes regular boat handling at this point. If this person, well, regardless, this is just boat handling. So let's say we have our wind coming like this. Our seas are going to be dictated, they're going to be pushed by the wind. So when you come in for your approach, boat handling 101, you want to have your bow into the wind, into the seas. You're more maneuverable that way. So you come in and you start making your approach. Decide if you're going to pick up starboard side or port side, and let everybody in your family know what you're doing. What would determine that? It might be that you have a tuna door, swordfish door, whatever, on the side of your boat. You can open that. It's on the starboard side. You may have a telescoping ladder that's mounted on the starboard side. Whatever, but let everybody know what you're going to do. We're going to do this starboard side. You make your approach, and you want to keep the guy fairly close to you, but when you get to the beam, now you're going to want to, you're not going to want to engage your engines anymore because of prop strike. But what you're going to want to do is give the wind your port bow. So turn hard to your starboard and see how the wind is going to hit your port bow, and that's going to take over. What's going to happen is your boat is full of sail area. The wind is going to have a big effect on your boat. This guy is all draft. I'm 6 foot. I've got 5.5 foot in the water. So I'm all draft. He's all draft. Let the boat's going to push down on him. And now it's just a matter of getting the individual back on the boat. And that can be challenging. Last year we had a case where this guy either fell over or went swimming, but he weighed 350 to 400 pounds. he was in his 70s, had some pretty significant health issues, and they could not get him on the boat. They could not, to the point they horsed around with it for about 2 hours, and then they finally called for assistance. We responded. A Good Samaritan got there just before us, and he did have one of the tuna doors, so they just slid the guy in that way. And luckily, the master was a EMT, so we escorted him to the local Coast Guard station, and the guy ended up spending the night at the hospital due to his medical issues, but he was hypothermic. So think about how you're going to get a person into the water, out of the water, and if you don't have a way, put that on your to-do list. See, now there's also ways where you can take a mooring line and go from one cleat to the other, just dip it in the water, and it gives them a bit of a hand getting out. You can also take 2 mooring lines and put the eyes like steps and wrap both mooring lines around your cleat, and that may help you. So figure it out. This is something on your to-do list on how you're going to get the individual back on your boat. All right, he or she's back on the boat. No harm, no foul, nobody's, no broken bones, nothing. So you go off, this guy gets his balls broke for the rest of his life. And you're on. Let's get to something more serious. Absolutely same scenario. When do you think it would get more serious? When do you think we're not going to find this guy? When it's dark. There are times out there when it's darker than the inside of your pocket. You can't see off the boat. The purpose of this video is to get you prepared and to give you the opportunity to take a couple steps that will make life better for you, i.e. requiring life jackets to be worn all the time while you're underway. And 2, they have little lights that you can attach to your life jacket, and they automatically activate when you go in the water. If you do this, it is a complete game changer. If you do this, again, game changer. This and the light. Now, when you put that ring buoy over the side, now you have a reference point. Are you seeing how you just do a couple things right now, everyday boating, that will just pay off with dividend if this happens to you? All right, so we're going to come around. So now this trail thing is just, it follows you everywhere. So you turn around and you get back on your track. Now, what's happened here, a couple things. Let's explain this out. When you hit that waypoint, you did put a reference point for us, but another reference point is that you don't have to search in this area. You hit here and here. So let's kind of do some quick math. Is it possible that the guy is any more than 500 yards, which is a quarter of a mile behind you? Did he fall off that far back? He could have, or she could have, but more than likely the person fell overboard. They got spit back a little ways. So don't go any further. If you want to call it 500 yards. Now you have a search area. We know that the wind is heading this direction. Again, back with the 5 most important settings on your chart plotter. One of the things I recommended turning on all the time was your current table. Okay? Now the current, if the current is also pushing this way, it'll tell you how many knots. But are you seeing how things are starting to work for you because you did a couple things before this thing happened? Do you think that there's any likelihood that your loved one is on this side of your track? No. He's either right down this line or somewhere over in this way. So you come down, you follow your track. Don't go any further than the 500 yards because you're just wasting time. Come back. Come back. Until you find the individual. Hopefully you have a mounted searchlight that you can use all the time. You can buy handhelds that plug in, and whatever type of plug you have, you can buy that. But a handheld spotlight is a lot more versatile and a lot more effective, especially if you're the guy who's trying to drive, talk on the radio, blah, 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 blah. If you don't find this person right away, you are in a mayday situation, okay? A mayday situation is the threat of loss of life or property at sea. So, sound the alarm and get people over there to help you. When you feel your sphincter at pucker factor 10, it's time to get the help in here. But you have done enormous things for your family member by doing everything that we're talking about. And you'll be able to brief whoever shows up on scene on what you've got going. The Coast Guard's going to want to know some things. First off, they're going to want to know your position. Everybody is going to want to know your position. The most important thing you can get off your boat when you call Mayday is your position. Hopefully, in that video, I tried to talk you into putting your latitude and longitude at the top of your screen. Even if you didn't, it should be on there somewhere, and if you have a newer radio, it's on your radio. But give your latitude and longitude because that is a exact position. Once you get done with that, give your geographical location because all the guys who are underway are going to want to know. It's going to take them a few minutes to punch the latitude and longitude in, and whoever's driving the boat can just start heading right towards you. And then they're going to have a bunch of other questions. I'm going to do a video on Mayday, but again, if you need help, get help going, and they need to know your location. And that's another thing that you as a boat operator ought to practice. What would you do right now if? What if if you don't find the guy, or you find them and they're not responsive? I don't know how you feel about CPR. Some people don't believe in it, but I certainly do. And I have been certified for the last 40 some years. And I have done CPR on people in front of restaurants. I have done them in a Coast Guard waterborne situation many times. And I have done them in jail, in a jail situation. If you don't know how to do CPR, you're only going to be left to watch your loved one die. Because you can't do anything. I mean, so on your to-do list this winter, let's put a CPR class, a first aid class, and a stop the bleed class. A lot of stuff here. I know it kind of got a little heavy at the end, but this is an emergency procedure, and you really want to take a little bit of your fun day. And you can make this fun. I mean, Dad, I got closer to the guy than you did, blah, 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 but the reps will help. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about on any of this stuff, please throw a comment in this section and I will be more than happy to explain this to you. This is really, really important stuff. I've seen some real heartbreakers, and if they had done some of this stuff, it wouldn't have been a heartbreak. Okay? All right. From my heart to you, I believe this stuff. All right. I'm gonna edit this thing to where Timmy and Brennan, we went out on their boat. If you want to stick around and do watch that, you're encouraged to. We've gone over 700 subscribers, and I haven't done a video in about a month, and I've got some real stuff going on at work. I think I'm in the process of retiring from the sheriff's office. This is what I want to do. The 700 subscribers say that you guys are finding some value in this, so I'm going to keep pushing on it, and but I wanted to say thank you, and I want to say I appreciate you guys. So until the next video, I appreciate you. Stick around and watch Tim and Brennan get it. So I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.
Man Overboard!